going all in on yourself and investing in you? Like, what does that mean to you?
It means your wife at the grocery store calling you because the visa bounced. That's how all in I've gone. I burned the boats, man. I left an engineering career, turned around, invested everything into this, got let go from my job like 20 days later. And there have been a couple times Alyssa's called me and said there's not enough for groceries. Pick a path and then just go all in. Obviously, don't be stupid. Look at the path you're going on and make sure you're headed in the right direction. Course correct if need be, but don't dip your toes in stuff. Like it's this is the path I've chosen, and for better or worse, this is where we went. It's looking better now, but there are times where it's like, is the vision really gonna take shape of the dream that we have, right?
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Return on Investment MF channel. It's your host, Zack, ROI Williams, and this is the information your haters don't want you to hear about. Becoming the most badass version of yourself in business. What's going on, everybody? It's Zack ROI Williams back with another episode of Return on Investment MF channel, and today we're going to bring my man Lewis Vandervalk. He owns multiple companies. One of the ones that he pushes the most is going to be Blue Crocus Solutions. So we're going to dive into that, kind of get an idea what is in his head as far as being a entrepreneur with multiple different verticals. But anyways, I want to bring you guys this guy. We got a lot of really good topics I want to talk about. He's got some really cool mindset stuff we're going to be discussing, which if you're following this channel, it's something that we care deeply about. But anyways, without further ado, my man Lewis, what's going on, bro? Tell the people who you are and what you do.
Zack, appreciate you having me on, man. Excited to be here in the ROI cave with you. But yeah, Lewis here out of New Brunswick, Canada. I'm 6'8". I like to drop random dad jokes every once in a while. But we run Blue Crocus Solutions. I started it in 2019, and we are a marketing solution for contractors. A lot of home service businesses that we work with. Junk removal is a big vertical that we work in. But yeah, that's our gig, is websites, logos, Google Ads, SEO. That's how we kind of make the world turn for them.
I love it, man. And obviously I always love having people like yourself on the channel, because everyone's always like, I feel like everyone in the marketing space, or maybe it's just the world, I don't know, who knows, they're always like, oh my god, a competitor, I would never have that. I'm like, dude, they're not competitors. Like, for me, all I'm doing at this point is further like building my syndicate. I can't tell you how many referral partners I have now, just from simple conversations like this, where, like, obviously you and I have connected way prior to this, but just, people get so uptight thinking that, like, you're going to try and steal from me and I'm going to try and steal from you. And I'm like, bro, calm down. Like, there's so much meat on the bone here. It's ridiculous.
Man, can we just sit in that for a little? Because there's actually, when I started, I was terrified of that. Like, I would see people in the groups, there would be like some groups and verticals I was going after, and then I'd see other marketers come in and I'd like creep their stuff and be like, oh, are they better than me? Like, should I be worrying? Like, they're going to steal my clients. Who can I steal from them? And then everything changed. Well, there was a few things that changed for me. I read The Go-Giver by Bob Burg, which is just an insane mental shift if you haven't read it. But then one of my mentors said, everyone has an X factor. And this changed the game for me, Zack. I've got an X factor. No one else is 6'8", likes dad jokes, lives in New Brunswick, has my life, has my kids, has my office. No one else. You cannot replicate that if you tried.
Yep.
You've got your personality. You've got your persona that you're doing. We could have the same exact products. We work in pretty wildly different verticals, but we could have the exact same products and services. And one person would come with you and one person would come with me, because we just gel differently with people. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Even if everything was the same. And then there's the fact that, like, you work in completely different plane than I do right now. Right. Our companies are at very different levels. So there is going to be people that are too small for you that you might refer over, too big for us that we might refer over. And so it's like, I say this to our clients all the time. Like, when we started the junk removal business, I got to kind of get in that, realm a little bit. And we've really pushed that hard because we've got the social proof from our business. But one of the things they're like, oh, don't talk to competitors. There's so many competitors popping out. It's like, sweet. One, the market can support it, or otherwise they're going to die off. Right. Two, everyone knows that junk removal is something that, they need. So there's something to support you guys. And then three, you've got a bunch of referral partners. They're going to have jobs that are too small or too big for them. You're going to have jobs that are too small or too big. You can pass to them. Maybe you guys partner up on jobs. And then it's just this network of, maybe you've got two or three companies that you work with. And then you guys become one of the three go-to people in the county or whatever. I'm really passionate about that, because when I started, it was like, I get all uptight, and I see so many people in business feeling that way. It's like, guys, there, no one can be you. No one can have the same trucks as you. No one can have the same, it's like, and lean into your X factor.
I agree 100%. And I say it on my channel quite regularly, but like, I understand I'm not everyone's cup of tea, right? In anything and everything that I do. I mean, I'm tattooed head to toe, I speak my mind. I'm very blunt and straightforward, but you'd also be an idiot to think that there's not a specific demographic that gravitates towards someone like that, and
Yeah.
and I speak about that quite often, but it's funny because there's multiple referral partners, strategic partners, whatever that we deal with now that like if we had all shared that same mindset, would not be passing, significant amounts of
Millions of
business.
dollars. Yeah.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
insane. And it's funny too, because I think the more I get around more like-minded people like that, it's like with anything, I'm starting to notice it more of people with those same mindsets. But since we're out here dropping book references and stuff now, but kind of to your point about especially like when you're getting having that conversation about being specific in the junk removal space and all that is I'm reading Chet Holmes, The Ultimate Sales Machine, and in there he made a statement that stood out pretty aggressively to me. And he said that like in all his clients' businesses, it's almost like he is like an employee without being on the payroll. Like he's now ingrained himself so much so in like being a connector for them and pointing them in the right direction that like they'll be like, oh man, like before we make a decision on this, let's go ask Chet what he thinks and if he's got any like relationships and people that he could pass off to. So like I think that that's important, because as you start surrounding yourself with like-minded people like ourselves, is like one of my clients might come to me and ask me for something that you specifically do that I don't necessarily either want to do or am good at. And if I genuinely care about my clients, I'm going to want to give them the best of the best. So for me, it's putting that ego aside, bringing that client to you on a silver platter and being like, I trust you, and therefore my client is going to trust you because they trust me. Let's team up
And then
together
it's
and
a
let's
slam dunk for everybody.
exactly, man. And that's the thing too. It's like I tell people all the time, like there's two verticals that I want you to focus in. And I actually just got off one of my coaching calls with my group of men that I coach, and we discussed Ikigai. And if you don't know what that is, if you're listening, I would
I've seen it
highly
popping up a lot. Yeah.
so, and the conversation came up because, and I'm going to pull it up and read it because I don't want to butcher it. But he was like missing something right inside of him. Call it a passion for his, passion project or whatever. But so Ikigai is there's four different sectors, and the way it's broken down is they all like intersect, but only some of them will intersect here and there. But it's Ikigai is when you find all four when they intersect. If you kind of imagine, if you're not watching this, you imagine like four circles and how they intertwine. And this is a Japanese concept that they came out with, like truly finding your purpose in life. But the first sector is like, what are things that you love? The next sector is what are you good at? The next is what can you get paid for? And then the next is what the world needs. Now, again, these circles, as they all intersect, there's only one section where all four will actually like intersect. And that's where your Ikigai is, this Japanese word. But for example, if only your what you love sector and what you're good at sector cross, that is what your passion is.
Mm.
Then if only your what are you good at section and what you can get paid for cross, that is simply your profession. But then if
Mm.
you take your what you can get paid for and what the world needs intersect, that is your vocation. And then if you take only what the world needs and what you love connects, that's your mission. But again, if you can find something that crosses all of this stuff, that section in the middle where all these circles perfectly touch, that's your Ikigai, the Japanese word. But
What's yours?
man, honestly, I do believe it's the marketing concept, because for me it's more and that's why the ROI phrase has kind of transitioned for me, because there's two ROIs in this life: a return on investment from your money and a return on investment from your time. So for me, I love the education part on helping consult people on how to make a return on their time or their money, because those are the two things that really truly make the world go around. And you know, for me, helping educate people on that, I get to see like a new version of themselves open up as they find a way to either increase their time or increase their revenue, their investment into themselves. And you know, it's funny because I've taken all the education I have over the last 16 years in the marketing industry and utilize that on how I actually coach my men now through life. Is all right, in marketing, I've learned that people spend money to either make money, they spend money to save money, or they spend money to save time. Okay. So we know that that's why people genuinely spend money. But then you start looking at what do people care about, right? What are the verticals that they spend money in? The majority of people spend money in their health, their wealth, and their relationships. So like I took all that and in my head, like I was like beating my head against the wall, kind of to your point, like coming up with what is my Ikigai, like how do I figure this out? Because like I know what I'm good at. I know, you know, I know what the world needs. I know what I can get paid for. You know, so I was like putting all this together, and it was like, all right, if the majority of people in this world need these 6 things, how can we create something that helps educate them on that? Because I'm a firm believer that you don't know what you don't know till you know it. And
Yeah.
I'm a very, very big advocate on just leading with education. Like you lead with education, people then know, like, and trust you. You as a marketer know that that's how you complete a sell. You know, it's
Yeah.
not about the product or service. It's about, you know, the person selling it. And it's about that dream that it provides. Your service or product just happens to be the vehicle.
Yeah.
So finding all that, uh, and educating people on that has truly been something that, you know, I appreciate you asking that question, because after we get off this call, I think I'm going to dive into that a little bit deeper and see to the core, like, what is my Ikigai?
Mm. It's a powerful question, right? I don't know what mine is. I've seen it a couple times, and I need to dive into it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so this would be like an interesting segue into something that I wanted to talk to you about, which is something that you're passionate about, which is, you know, keeping promises to yourself, which is like, you know, therefore giving you confidence building by doing what you say you're going to do, right? Like we all know the importance of do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. You know, and so I like your twist on it when we talked about it, is it's more so like doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Like that's a statement. Like that is just like, hey, bro, like do what the fuck you say you're going to do. And to the point when you get down like granularly to what that is, like that is just like checking a mark off on a to-do list or something like that. But I like the spin that you put on that, because you're teaching yourself that you can keep promises to yourself. And to me, I think that's a way bigger lesson in and of itself than just like checking a check mark off. What are your thoughts behind that? Because it's obviously something you care about.
It's something I care about. It's something I'm working on consistently. I'll actually tell you the flip side of it here, because I'm kind of dealing with this. So, um, keeping promises to yourself, like one of the big things for me is like if I can plan my day the night before and have out what I'm going to do. I'm very much a person that I want to come in. I'm visionary. I want to come in. I get an idea and I want to go down that rabbit hole, man. But then the whole day's schedule is gone, right? And I've gone down a rabbit hole. It might be productive stuff. It might be leading toward the things that I want, but then the consistent stuff that I needed to get done didn't get done. So that's where the concept really started for me was, hey, if you say this is what you know this is what you plan to do, you know, barring unforeseen circumstances, this is what you're going to do. You're going to come into the office. The way my day works is at 8:15. I come down from being with the kids. I go row. I go shower. I do stretching, and then it's into sales stuff for about an hour and a half, like prospecting and whatnot. And then it's team meetings, and then it's lunch with the kids, and then it's calls with clients and sales calls. If I spend the morning when I'm not in from when I get down until I'm in team meetings doing stuff and just going off into the weeds researching stuff, I've just missed the foundational blocks of my day, and the whole day's off. And then it's like, well, if I can't count on myself to do that, what can I count on myself to do? And what confidence can I have when I say I'm going to do that to someone, you start doubting it in your own mind, and you start reneging on the stuff that you agree to do, and then eventually it just piles up, and you have too many things that you said you were going to do that you couldn't do. Here's an example of the flip side of that. I have been, I went off sugar in September, working through Andrew Carlson's program. Actually, went off sugar, reworking some of the stuff in my health life, and I was really, really solid about it from September through to Christmas, actually. And I was like, I'm going to get through Christmas. I had a gingerbread cookie, and actually all through January, I struggled with randomly seeing little snacks and picking them up and eating them, because I broke that promise to myself. And so I'm actually digging pretty deep into that right now, into, right, what's the underlying cause here? Food is definitely an addiction that I struggle with. But then let's look at, I broke my promise. I got to rebuild that trust with myself. And it's so cool, because it's like I actually spent a fair bit on it time on it, kind of diving into that yesterday. It's like, now I got to rebuild that trust with myself. And everything else, when that confidence starts wearing down, the way you show up on sales calls, the way you show up in team meetings, the way you show up with your family, there's always that nagging doubt, that nagging stuff. And I'm living through it right now. So we may as well just get real and raw and honest, because I think most people probably struggle with that in one form or another. But I'm very curious about the process. I'm trying not to be too hard on myself, but it's like, interesting. I want that confidence back. Let's look at where we went off the rails, but let's get back to keeping promises in this area.
No, dude, that's powerful. And I'll say that there's a comment that Jaybird, my head of sales, made when he was going down the rabbit hole of discussing 75 hard. Like, we're gonna ride Andy Frisella's dick for the next little bit, because I want to talk about the power list, which is actually sitting on my desk right
Oh,
now.
I'd like to talk about that too, actually.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that,
because I have questions for you.
yes, we're gonna get into that. So it's gonna seem like a little Andy show for a second, but I
Andy's all
can't.
right. We can shout out Andy. More
Oh
people
yeah,
need to know
Andy
about him.
Frisella's the dude, the man. So I don't remember who per se Jaybird was listening to, someone's podcast or interview, and I'm gonna give you what he got out of it, and what our conversation prior to that was I knew I've been subtly leaving a breadcrumb trail for Jaybird to pick up about 75 hard for probably 2 years now. I knew that it was going to just transform him, and I was super excited to see the version of him on the other side of 75 hard was. So I've been kind of leaving some nuggets for him. Well, he came to me and was like, "Oh, I'm starting like tomorrow." And I was like, "Holy shit, what?" Like, no conversation, we're just jumping right in. And he said, "Yeah, man." He was like, "I was scared of who controlled me." And I was like, "Whoa, what?" I was like, and he was like, "Yeah, man." He was like, "I was listening to so and so, and they started talking about, like, if you can't make a decision for yourself to do something for you, then who makes those decisions?" Essentially, it was like what he got down to. And I was like, "Hold up, bro. Like, I got to unwrap this a little bit." And like, so shout out Jaybird. He lives in Vegas, right? Like, so we all know he like,
Jaybird, I need to find that podcast episode.
yeah,
That's hitting home.
yeah, we'll connect you with that. But Jaybird, we always joke around. I joke around with him, when he's high, right? I always pick on him for some of the things that come into his mind. But like the concepts work, but to me they seem pretty out of this fucking world. But like in this conversation, he was like, "Yeah, bro, like what's going on? Is there like a little creature up there like controlling me? Like, if I'm not in control of my own body and self, like really, who does control that? Like, what creature, what spirit, what this, that, whatever, like who's controlling me at that point? If I can't say I'm gonna do this, then who do I have control over if I don't have control over myself?" And I was like, "Holy shit, bro." And so he sure did, man. He went into 75 hard, and he crushed it, man. And he came out of that like a different person. But I think that's something that we all, struggle from, whether it's food, whether it's, finances, whether it's, I've been seeing a lot of people openly talking about porn lately, like whatever it is, whatever that addiction is. Um, there's a very real mindset that you put yourself in when, like, if you cannot control your own self and your own mindset, who can you control?
Mhm.
I think that's a very, very powerful thing. And I would be interested in knowing too, you know, I mean, probably a sidebar conversation, and obviously shout out Andrew Carlson. He's amazing at what he does with getting to the true source of your health
Mm. Yeah.
and cellular and neurological health. But with that being said, I'd wonder like how much of that is like for you, like there's obviously something that triggers in your brain that says like, yo, I want that. And
Yeah.
I would be interested in finding out like, you know, for everything that I try to do, like I'm a problem solution person. That's the what I try and beat into my own head, as well as my team, my family, and all that is like, let's get to the root of the problem. Like the root of the problem isn't just because you want something sweet,
No.
right? Or whatever. Like there's something deeper there that like we can get to the core of that. Now we can start fixing that, you know, issue.
Yeah,
Cause like,
so we went to one level with it with him actually. He does a little bit of NLP stuff through the course of his program. So we went to one level and I cried like so hard, like partway through it, man.
yeah.
Because what I realized with him was I run from pain.
Mhm.
I run from pain. I've been running from pain my childhood, you know, trying to break out and just live, right?
Right.
And so food is a dopamine hit,
Yep.
and it's the opposite of pain. I don't even necessarily, I'm hungry. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'8". I have a big appetite, but it's not the hunger because I can fast. What it is I love the flavor and I love the texture of food. That's the dopamine hit for me.
Yeah.
And so that dulls out the pain. It's the same thing with social media, scrolling your phone. It's the same thing with porn. It's the same thing with any number of addictions. As I see it from my perspective, anyway, and what I'm running from is the pain. And so we've got to go to another level on that and see, you know, see what else is there. But looking at it, so there was a good 30, 60 days where I was super in alignment. I felt good. And here's the thing too, Zach, is when so sugar and wheat for me is like that's a big thing that we realized was like really taking a lot of my energy away. I felt like crap. And so it's this constant cycle. And then you go
Feel
back
like
for more
crap,
of
so you go back. Yeah.
exactly. And then things are tough in the business, or you're having an argument with your spouse, and food's an easily accessible thing. I said to Alyssa, it's like I live in a crack house. It's like I'm moving away from the addiction and I live in it. And so now it's all right, let's get to the next level so that food's not the thing that I'm craving. It's what's the trigger for that? What's the lever? But that hit me really powerfully, what Jaybird said there. Like, who is controlling you?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's felt. You feel out of control. And when you keep promises to yourself, you feel like you're in control, man. And you just keep ticking things off.
No, I agree. And, you know, I think that for us entrepreneurs, that is like a tough, it really is. It's a tough thing when you feel like you're losing control because like you've got a lot of people that rely on you. And then the deeper you go into that like pit of like that anxiety and stress and, you know, for some of us, depression, whatever that looks like, it's easier to get deeper in that hole, and the deeper and deeper you're in the hole, the more and more pressure there is because the further and further you are away from this goal. And so it just is this compounding effect that, you know, I agreed, like if you don't get a hold of it, like shit's gonna end up in a bad way. And same thing, you know, with any simple things. You know, I call it simple because it's not, it doesn't have a huge, you know, grasp on me, but like it's massive for you. And it sounds so simple when you say it on
Yeah, it
paper,
does
right?
sound simple.
Like bro,
Sounds
put the
simple to me.
fucking gingerbread cookie down, you know, it sounds so
Yeah.
simple. But until you're in that, and we all have those, like we all have those situations. um you know, I'm interested in that, and I appreciate like the fact that y'all are working through that and getting to the bottom of that. And I think too that like a lot of it's gonna come, and I'm just simply gonna use this as a segue into the powerless stuff, but like is coming up with a structure, you know, of your life on what that looks like, because I think that there's ways to find a way to trick your mind until you get that mental resilience
Mm,
to feeling like it's achieving something. And for me, it would be like attaching it to like an objective. Right, like, so like if you haven't read Atomic Habits, like habit stacking, right? So it's like, all right, cool, if as we segue into this, like if I get all my power tasks done, or critical tasks from the power list done today, I can have a tasty treat, right? And whatever that is, and obviously finding a way to make that fit both things where it still falls in line with your health, but also it tricks that dopamine and serotonin release. Like, for example, like one of my protein shakes that I'll bounce to and from every once in a while, it's like it's healthy, it's good for you, it's a good protein shake, but it is dreamsicle flavored. So
Mm.
like I'll drink this, and like for me, I feel like I'm cheating. So neurologically, like my brain's like, hell yeah, bro, we're having a dreamsicle, when the rest of my body's like, thank you for not fucking me up. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
So
Um,
so dive deeper into the power list, because you were actually the first person I remember in Apex you talked about it. You were the first person that I kind of came across it. What does that look like? Is it the same list every day for you? I know Priscilla has the book, but like, do you do it every night? What does that routine look like for you?
yeah, so I'm excited to dive into this. It's something I'm pretty passionate about because I know how impactful it's been on my life. There's nothing spectacular about the journal itself. It's literally just like a notebook. You could literally just do this with notes in a notebook or a 3-ring binder or something, or your phone, even if you had to. I like it just because I'm very much like pad and pen kind of person. I'm also weird about my books too. It's a good hardcover. It's got like a matte finish, so it feels good in your hands. It's got this pretty like red ribbon. I don't know. I like it. It's pretty.
You're
Uh,
bougie. What can you say?
right. But down to the basis of it, it is 5 blank lines, and you write down a to-do list on those 5 blank lines, and it's got a check mark next to it, and then at the bottom it asks if you won or lost the day. So there's
Mm,
like some simple triggers there, right? Depending on who you are and how your brain works. Me, I, same with you. I am hyper visionary, bro. Like I am visionary of visionaries. Like I want
mm,
to get in here and play in my magical like wonderland and just come up with all these beautiful ideas and then let it be someone else's fucking problem, right? Like
yeah.
that's what I want to do. Let me sit with my thoughts. But this structures you. And so I'm going to give you what it's supposed to do, and then I'm going to give you my hack with it.
Yep.
So it's simply you write down 5 things that you need to do that day to move the needle. Now, you had a good question on, is it the same thing every day or how does that look? So theoretically, what is supposed to happen is these are tasks that you have to work towards, right? So I'm going to use the gym for example. If like going to the gym is not something that is like a habit for you or something that you actively just fucking enjoy doing, it starts in the list. You start writing that down and reminding yourself, fuck, I got to go to the gym. Okay, cool. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to check that off. As that becomes a habit and as that becomes something that you do enjoy or you do is not like a painful or something that you've got to do like to remind yourself to move the needle, it falls off, right? So like for
Interesting.
me, it's not on the list. For you, it might be, right?
Because you just automatically do that.
Because I automatically do that, right? For
But everything on your list, you're still doing that day, even though you're kind of picking the harder things that have higher friction.
yes,
Okay.
correct. Like,
Okay.
and so these tasks will pop up all throughout the day, you know, depending on like, so for example, like this a couple of days ago, I had to fire some clients. So I wrote that down. I had to call a specific venue about an event I'm throwing. I had to write that down. Like these are big things that are moving the tasks. I had to make an announcement about a event that I had coming up. I had to schedule my posts, and I wrote that down because that's not a day-to-day activity for these specific posts I'm talking about. It happens every once in a while. Like typically I'll do that like every month. So for me, I need to remind myself, 30 days between, it's easy to forget about. So for me, on that one day, it's not there the next day because I don't have to schedule posts the next day, you know. So it's things that you need help being reminded about that are going to help you move the needle. Now, my
How
hack,
often do you look at that?
I call this my Bible. It goes with me everywhere. I mean, you saw it was right on my desk. It's not far from me. And all day during the day, it's open. So it's literally sitting here. And again, so like the whole book is all black. It's a pretty book. And then it's
Black's
got
kind
this,
of your aesthetic. I don't know
it
if anybody's
is, right?
noticed.
And then it's got this red ribbon that helps you like keep track. So
Yeah.
me and the way my mind works is I went and got a red pen. So like every task I write down, it's just it's poking out at me. It's shining right into my eyes. Um, but as you go throughout the day, you get to check these check marks off, and it creates a dopamine and serotonin release every time you check that off. It makes you feel good. Well, for me, the hack that I have is I've got my schedule is time blocked to a T. And even so much so, like today's a Tuesday. I could tell you that not because I've looked at the calendar, but because me and you are recording this podcast. I only do recordings for my channel on Tuesdays from a certain time to a certain time. So like I'm very hyper specific with my calendar. Now, let me preface and say that I could always be better at following my time blocks, but the time blocks are at least there. And I would say for a majority of the time, I follow them. With my critical tasks, and so the typical critical task list, which the tasks themselves are called critical tasks.
Yeah.
The book itself is called the power list. But with this book, the book itself is made up of 5 critical tasks per day. That's what this book is created. Now, for any of y'all who do 75 hard, once you get to phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, it's 8 critical tasks per day, right? So whether you're just following the journal, which is 5, or you are on phase 1, 2, or 3, which is 8, I always make one task profit producing. One of those tasks needs to be send that invoice, create a post with a call to action, follow up with these prospects. Like one of those tasks every fucking day needs to be profit producing. Then I make one of those tasks something that it was forward progressing, right? So if you notice some of those, like I was talking about, an event that I'm gonna do, like I am doing something for shit that's like months, 6, 8, 9 months out. Or like, for
Or
example,
the
when I
book
was,
or or the book or anything like that.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
for the last few months, several of my critical tasks were about the book that I have coming out. So it was, finish chapter 3, or go back and edit chapter 1, or create a call to action based around, whatever the case was. So something that's forward projecting. Then the real hack is actually filling up the remaining ones the day prior, right? So like for me, when I wake up in the morning, I know I get to go the fuck to work. Like I don't get to waste, I don't have to waste any of my most critical brain power time coming into my office and be like, what the fuck do I need to do today? Like
Yeah.
I already know the list is there. I just get the fuck to work, jam out, boom, check mark, jam out, boom, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark, and then I'm done. Now kind of a elite tip here is depending on what your schedule's like, and everyone's schedule's different, and mine's even changed probably 3 times since I've launched this podcast. But one of the big things I talked about is for me, I have enough time in my window in the mornings where if I need to rearrange my time block some, I can. But if there's a task that comes up that is like time sensitive, instead of locking myself in to, and I want everyone to hear what I'm about to say, instead of locking yourself into a stupid ass time commitment of saying, oh, I'll get that to you by end of day, I say I will have this in your inbox by the time you clock in tomorrow morning. Now this is why. What the fuck is it? When you say I'm going to get this to you by the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, we're literally pushing that to 4:59 or 5:01. Like you're literally pushing. what the fuck good is that going to do to that person at the end of their day? They're not going to do anything with it till the next morning. So now what I've done is, if this is something that is hypercritical to getting completed in time sensitive time, I make the adult decision, depending on how my personal life with my family is, or what my schedule of my business looks like. I can either stay up late working on that after hours, or most of the time I am awake and working 3 to 4 hours before anyone else clocks in. So now I've got time that next morning where I just rearrange some of my critical tasks, and I do that hypersensitive thing, and I get that completed, and I get that in their email before they clock in. So obviously every once in a while, and I'll tell you, it's probably only once every 6 months, I'll get a client that hits me up and is like, I need this like immediately, where like I have to jump off my critical task lists and actually get that completed. Now, the goal is being mentally tough enough where when that wrench gets thrown in there, that doesn't mean you don't get to just not do one of the power tasks because you're like, oh, I did something important. No, you still fucking do the critical tasks. Like, you still got to get that shit done. So I think that the elite tip here is writing down all your critical tasks the day before. I think that that's super, super important. So like, as I go throughout the day, say for example, a client hits me up and has a need, right? I don't stop what I'm doing on my critical tasks. I've already determined that these are critical tasks. Critical tasks means they're critical. Like, that's important. That is,
Got to be done.
a powerful word. So what do? I write that critical task on tomorrow's date, and I write that down. So again, now as I'm going throughout this, I'm not messing up my flow state, right? Like, you get in the flow state with each project and each critical task you do. If I was to sit there and jump off of every task I did to jump onto the next one that the client brings in, and then one of my team members brings one in, and then my wife walks in the room and needs something, and you're constantly jumping to the next task and the next task, the next task, you look back and you're like, fuck, I didn't get anything completed.
Yeah. Yep. It hits home, man. And it's keeping those wins.
Yep.
And you talked at the beginning about Move 30. So I don't know if you have too much left here to finish up, because we are coming to the end. But the Move 30 program is that. So Jason Starbuck is my coach in the Move 30. And what he did is, I call him my unmotivational coach, because he basically broke it down to where I've got a pretty intense life with the 3 kids, the business, and all of that. We don't have much help with the kids. So it's Alyssa and I tag teaming throughout the day, right? So it was breaking it down to those things that would be possible to do no matter what. Even if it was just 10 minutes of rowing a day for a workout, even if it was just that. And so it was breaking it down and then keeping that critical list. That's what the Move 30 program is a critical list of tasks that you've decided that move your physical health forward, your relationships forward, your business forward, and so on. You can kind of choose from that and keep the list to where it's doable, right? But everyone has a different life. 75 hard, moved 30, critical lists. All these things are keeping small promises that move yourself forward, and I think that's just what the title of this episode should be.
Right.
Yeah, I appreciate you running through the power list, man. That really, I literally just snagged one while you were finishing up talking.
I love it, man. No, dude, the speed of implementation is important. So yeah, dude, break down, like, do you have a little bit more detail you can go in on Move 30? Because that's man, like, what I agree with you, like, and also like what I said earlier, like, the power list might not work for you. Maybe it's Move 30. Like, there's all these different hacks, but I'll tell you that the one fuck up, if you're listening, that you're gonna have is not picking one of them, at least trying. Like, you don't know what you don't know till you know it. So like, you might not know that the critical or the power list journal is going to work for you, or it's not, or you don't know if Move 30 isn't. But like, if you haven't found something that actually fixes this problem yet, like, you just sitting there and be like, I don't know if that's going to work for me. I don't know if that's going to work for me. You never know till you try it.
You never know. Yeah. So the premise of Move 30 is basically Jason's whole thing. He comes from a martial arts background. He was in Thailand, trained for a while. And his thing is, in business, how can we get a baseline fitness, mental fitness, physical fitness, financial fitness, activity fitness in the business every day that keeps us going? We can have spurts up and down from there, but what is our baseline that we're going to have in those areas that keep us moving forward with momentum, because otherwise we're just going to atrophy in all areas, right? And so for me, when I jumped in with him May of last year, I felt like I was in mud. I literally did. It was like, wasn't moving forward, wasn't moving backward, wasn't going anywhere. And we picked a really, he calls it a stack of things that you do. You get good at that for 30 days, then you can add to your stack, or you can take away from your stack. But you come up with something and then you just commit to doing it. So for me, it was literally 30 push-ups, 60 calf raises, send out 2 audit videos a day, and send 15 Facebook messages a day. We doubled our revenue that first 30 days.
Hell yes, bro.
Because I was just doing those consistent little things. Results may vary, but the biggest thing is pick something and do it. 75 hard, moved 30. Take these ideas. You could read Hal Elrod's book, The Morning Miracle. You could take concepts from there and come up with your own thing, and then just do it. Just do it consistently. Typically we all know the things that we have to do to move ourselves forward, but we just don't want to do them consistently. I've certainly found that myself.
Yeah, I think that's an important comment too. And like, if you're listening to this, it's like, all the times, bro, like I have people come to me asking advice on like what tasks they need to be doing or this or that. I'm like, bro, you fucking know, like,
you know what you're avoiding.
Yeah, like if you're a fat piece of shit and you come to me and ask me, like, don't make me be the one to tell you to put the fucking cheeseburger down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if your fucking business is bleeding revenue because you're out here fucking flying around on private jets all the time or floating around it like a Lamborghini, don't make me be the one that, like, you know what you're doing. You know what you need to be working on. And like sometimes, to be honest, like some of you motherfuckers listening to this need to do the research yourself. Because like just coming to get like obviously people don't come to me just to get like a yes man answer, but like, a
quick
lot of
fix or a magic pill, right? Is what a lot of us, but that's what we all want.
Bro, if I had it, we wouldn't have to be doing this podcast right now. We'd be having this conversation face to face on my yacht somewhere, bro.
In Cabo or something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing though, is I talk about it pretty regularly, is like, you go to specific people for validation already knowing what they're going to tell you. Like, you're not going to come to me and ask me a question versus your homie that's out there like smoking weed every weekend, getting fucked up on the weekends, going out partying, worrying about, what bitches he's going to take home. You got the same question. You got 2 different people you're going to ask. You're going to come to me because you want this type of answer, or you're going to go to him because you want that type of answer.
Because you already know.
The answer was in you all along. Yeah.
Oftentimes we just pay coaches to tell us what we already know.
Exactly, bro. And believe me, don't let me downplay coaches. There, a lot of us.
I would be lost without it. But yeah, but oftentimes you kind of already know. Yeah. Right.
100%. And I think a lot of that does when you're going to pick your coach. I think that like has a lot to do why you pick that coach too, because you're like, he's going to tell me the shit I need to hear and I don't want to hear, but you know what? I know that that's the truth. I don't know that's where I need to go. So I just need someone fucking nagging me the whole way. Well, man, I appreciate you. If you give like one last, because I wanted to get into this, but we ran a little long, but it was great. I love the way the conversation went, but give us that last like 30,000 foot view on like what you think about like, and this is perfect for leaving a conversation about coaches, but like going all in on yourself and investing in you. Like, what does that mean to you?
It means your wife at the grocery store calling you because the visa bounced. That's how all in I've gone. Yeah, I burned the boats, man. I left an engineering career, turned around, invested everything into this, got let go from my job like 20 days later. And there have been a couple times Alyssa's called me and said, there's not enough for groceries. Like, can you move some money around? And I've hopped on the phone and moved some money around, and all right, you're good to run the card. But it's going all in. Once you pick a path, whether, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about just a second ago, pick a path and then just go all in. Obviously, don't be stupid. Look at the path you're going on and make sure you're headed in the right direction, course correct if need be. But don't dip your toes in stuff. Like, it's, this is the path I've chosen, and for better or worse, this is where we went. It's looking better now, but there are times where it's like, is the vision really gonna take shape of the dream that we have, right?
Man, we've all been there. I don't care who you are, what position you're in. We've all been there. We actually, this last coaching call I just got off of, was explaining that and like kind of the steps you got to take to get to where you're at, but then also like what you've done to get to where you're at. It's not what's going to take you where you need to go. But that was a comment I had made where it's like, we leave working in corporate America, some of us, to get a W-2 paycheck, and we will live paycheck to paycheck just to trade it in for a job that pays us wire to wire or completed invoice to completed invoice.
Yeah.
So there's some strategies we discussed on that call about that, but I agree with you, man. Like I've been there many, many times. I've been there, left there, ended up back there again. Like it's a vicious cycle. But I mean, I'll tell you, just like I tell everyone, it's like I'll never be someone to tell someone like, yes, you should dive off the deep end and become a full-blown entrepreneur, because I don't want to be the one to push them off. They have to jump off that themselves. I'll give them all the advice and tools they need to make that decision, but like I won't push you, because like I know all the sleepless nights, early mornings, the fights, all those calls from the grocery store. I know what those sound like, and I don't wish that on anyone, but in the same breath I say it's the best thing that's ever happened for myself and my family. So
Yep.
I agree with that. Well, dude, I appreciate you being on the show. This was a lot of fun, man. Yeah, fuck, I don't want a competitor to be on my show. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
But so tell the people who you are. I'm not who you are. Sorry, that's my intro. I'm jumping right back into my intro. But just let people know, like, if they wanted to connect with you further, or they want to do a little bit of research on you and reach out to you, like, how can they do that?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook at Lewis Vandervalk, and I have lewisvandervalk.com. Basically links out to everything that I do and all the places I've been. So, head over there and you can link to our, the business website, the books that I've been a part of, all that good stuff.
Awesome, bro. We'll put that link in the description. So I appreciate you for being here, man. It's been a great show. And for everyone listening, my name is Zack ROI Williams, and this was another episode of Return on Investment MF channel. We'll talk to y'all soon. Peace. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video at all or got anything else out of it, please check out these videos over here. They're going to be right in line with what you just saw.